Hey everybody, welcome back to yet another episode of Life, Liberty, and Truth. Christian here.
What's up, everyone?
That was Jared. And today is day 6. The day that we're recording this is day 6 of the Biden presidency. And so far, we have not been sent to any concentration camps. So that's a good sign.
Or the Gulag. So
Or the
yeah,
gulags. So, obviously, we were just kidding right there for anyone who might take that too literal. But it actually is day 6. Today's Tuesday, January 26th. And so by the time this comes out, it will be probably on Friday. So just letting you know right now that anything that might happen after this, we're not going to be able to talk about, obviously. So we're just going to talk about up to this point within the first week of the Biden presidency. So some things we wanted to talk about. We wanted to hit the executive orders, not all of them because there are a lot. Um, we wanted to hit on some cryptocurrency that has to do with some of the people that he has in some of his cabinet positions. Um, some news that you might not have heard about, the impeachment of Trump, and then end it with a little bit of the office of the former president. If you don't know what that is, we'll explain it soon because it's kind of interesting, but it's not a huge deal. But we're going to talk about it. So let me get over here. Okay. So in case you didn't know, President Biden, I hate saying that. President Biden, Joe Biden, has signed a lot of executive orders within the last week, 6 days. Um,
28 to
28
be
to
exact.
be
To this date,
exact.
to 26. So probably when it comes out, it'll be like 40. Who knows?
At this rate, yes. So before we start, I want to just say that the article that we are citing here for the 28 is the Daily Wire article titled 6 Days Biden Signs a Whopping 28 Executive Orders, Dwarfing His Predecessors. Okay, so the article starts, and I'm just going to say this real quick, just to give you some idea of what is normal for executive orders, how many total, all that stuff. So, like we said, 28 Joe Biden has signed up to this point. This article actually came out today. Um, it says right here, former President Trump signed only 4 executive orders in the first week of his tenure, with a total of 220 executive orders signed in his total time as president. Former President Obama signed 5 in the first week and 276 executive orders in his 8-year tenure as president. Former President George Bush signed exactly 0 in his first week and 291 executive orders in the first 8 years, while former President Bill Clinton signed 1 in his first week and 364 in 8 years. So, the fact that Biden has signed 28 is a lot, right?
Yeah.
And so we're going to get into some of these. We're not going to get into all of them because some of them are just like not that important as far as like COVID stuff. Like one of them was, I don't even remember, making a COVID board. And so it's not that important. But we're going to get into some of these according to the article. So the article basically just has them listed out and gives like a 1 or 2 sentence detail of what they are. So we're going to start with the first one, which is Biden signs an executive order. Number 1, executive order rejoined the Paris Agreement from which Trump withdrew in 2017. So the Paris Agreement that Trump pulled us out of was just a kind of environmental, um, global warming, climate change type environmentalist thing, which basically just said everyone in it just basically agrees that uh, uh, they just agree to have clean air. Basically, different regulations, promises that they plan to keep. Just like the normal stuff for that kind of things, much like the Geneva Convention or anything like that. So that's kind of the Paris Agreement. Trump pulled us out in 2017, and fun fact: when he pulled us out, our air quality was and our carbon emissions. That's what it was. Carbon emissions were actually better than every single country that was still in the Paris Agreement. In case you didn't know that. Um, So that was kind of interesting. And if I remember, it was 2 to 3 times better. Like it was significantly better when we were out of it than when we were in it. So
Right.
uh, just talk about that for a second. Not a huge deal, but still something interesting to note. Number 3, we're just gonna skip through these a little bit. An executive order requiring mask wearing on federal property. Jared,
That's a
go.
good one.
Yeah, I know you like this part.
Yeah, I mean, it's just another example of, telling people to do something and you doing the complete opposite, being a hypocrite, and that's what Joe Biden is. And he's a plagiarist,
Explain
and
why.
he
Explain why he's a hypocrite, real quick.
well, okay, so for instance, he basically signed that executive order requiring everyone to wear masks on federal property, and then, like, 2 hours later, he had, like, an interview, I don't even know where it was. Was it at the, Lincoln Memorial
I
or
think it was at the Lincoln Memorial, if
yeah,
I remember.
it was something like that, and he wasn't wearing a mask,
Yeah,
so he basically broke his own executive order.
he within the first couple hours of him signing it. I
Yeah,
forget how
it's
many.
just I find it funny and, ironic
I
that
find it frustrating.
yeah, very it's very annoying, but whatever.
Okay.
Y'all voted for him.
Number 5, an executive order revising immigration enforcement policies. That order revoked Trump's executive order 13768, which stated that the Secretary of Homeland Security should take all appropriate action to hire 10,000 additional immigration officers. Order 13768 also stated that the Attorney General and the Secretary, in their discretion and to the extent consistent with law, shall ensure that jurisdiction that willfully refuse to comply with 8 USC 1373 sanctuary jurisdictions are not eligible to receive federal grants except as deemed necessary for law enforcement purposes by the Attorney General or the Secretary. That was a
There's a lot to
mouthful.
take in, but yeah.
Okay. Basic the basic idea behind that is that he signed an executive order revising immigrant enforcement policies, right? So basically, um, it's going to change how immigration kind of works. It's going to change how strict we are with our immigration policies. That was just a quick version. Okay. Number 7, an executive order permitting illegal immigrants to be counted in the national decennial population count. That
Basically
is
the
important.
census, yeah.
So, okay, you go for it, Jared.
So, I mean, it's an order permitting illegal immigrants to be counted in the US Census when they're not even citizens of the United States. Um, I'm no genius, and I have never claimed to be, but that doesn't make any sense, right? How could you possibly be an immigrant of another country, right, and not a citizen of the United States, but then still be allowed to be counted in the population count of the United States, where you're not even, like, a citizen? It doesn't make any sense, and, I don't know where else to go there other than that's just one of the dumbest things I've ever seen.
Yeah, and was this related to how he's going to be making all illegal aliens citizens? Was it this is this part of that?
I
If I
don't know if that
remember,
was I don't know if this is part of the same executive order, but
was that a separate one?
I'm not, entirely
Or
sure.
was that just what he said he was
Well,
planning
it
on
could be
doing at
tied
this
in
point?
with this one, since it's like kinda like a short summary of what the executive order was, but, I mean, there could be that other aspect in there too, tied into that. But what I'm seeing from here right now is just he wants to count illegal citizens as the United States to the United States.
Yeah.
I don't
Okay.
know, I said citizens a lot, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, so just strictly off this, this is for sure the executive order permitting illegal immigrants to be counted in the national decennial population count. That's for sure. What we just said right there. Okay, number 8, an executive order canceling the Keystone XL permit. This is a big deal.
Yeah, this was a very, very big deal to a lot of people, especially those connected with this pipeline that was being built. If you don't know like the small little details in there, basically it would create about 43,000 jobs for Americans. So create more jobs. And in addition to that, it'd create about $3 billion um, of like gross or national gross for the United States. So that would just be another uh, way of making money.
Well,
Like it'd help the economy, and that's just the other what do you call that? The other variable that would go into growing the U.S. economy.
and several of the labor unions, if not all of them, I don't remember if it was all of them or not, but several, if most of the labor unions that advocated for Biden's presidency and whatnot, They have actually come back and denounced his decision on this, and they say that within his first day of doing this, he lost 10,000 jobs. So that's kind of a big deal, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Okay. Number nine, an executive order banning discrimination on the basis of gender, identity, or sexual orientation. Now, I don't understand why we have to have an executive order banning discrimination on the basis of gender, identity, or sexual orientation when this is already illegal.
Well, it's just another thing that they can go behind and do anyway, right? But tell everyone else to do one thing when they do the other. That's what I think
I think
that
it's
it's
just a
for.
publicity stunt.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
look,
mean,
we're for equality. Look
yeah,
at, I just signed an executive order
there's
saying
the
so.
other thing that's also kind of tied into this. Well, it's not really tied into it, but I believe there is talks about putting Harriet Tubman on the $20 bill instead of Andrew Jackson taking him off and replacing him with Harriet Tubman. I don't have a problem with that, but again, it's to please like these. It's a political stunt. It's to please the people, the black community, and say we care about you, so we're going to put Harriet Tubman on the $20 bill. How about that? But not do anything to help support the black, community,
Yeah.
right?
The only problem I have with it is, traditionally, um, the people that the have been on bills have been either founding fathers or great presidents, right?
Yeah,
And so to kind of break the tradition of that was is frustrating to me because I would like to keep it that way. It's a tradition, right? You don't just replace somebody. And Andrew Jackson is kind of controversial, and so
yeah. He's very controversial, but
yeah.
yeah,
But if I would think if you replace him, you replace him with who is someone who's been traditionally on the bill. Like it's not a mountain that you're gonna die on, right? But you know, if you're gonna replace him, at least replace him with a founding father or a president.
yeah,
But whatever. Um, Number 10, an executive order mandating ethics pledge for government appointees. I thought that was interesting considering Joe Biden's very, very, very sketchy past. Thinking about all the racist things that he said about not sending his kids to those jungles, referring to schools, right, in black neighborhoods,
yeah. He
racist
didn't want his
comments,
kids to grow up in a racial jungle.
racial jungle. That's what it was.
Yeah,
And then between that and then his son is a known drug addict, and with all the mess that we talked about before, with all kinds of other stuff, I thought it was kind of ironic that he would be mandating an ethics pledge when he himself doesn't hold himself to that same ethic pledge. But
yeah. He
whatever.
sniffs like little girls and like I don't know.
Well,
Doesn't yeah.
I
I
saw
don't know.
8 women have come
I don't know what
forward
to
on
say about
sexual
that, but
allegations against him.
it's
Did you
true.
see that?
What was that?
8 women have come forward on sexual allegations against him.
I believe it.
I mean, I don't want to
Hey, Joe Biden, you
condemn.
said believe all women.
Yeah,
So
well, I don't. Here's the thing: I don't want to condemn a person just on something that one, two, or 3 women said. Like think of the Kavanaugh hearings. But on the other hand, the way I've seen this guy sniff little girls' hair and touch little girls is completely disgusting. And here's the other thing: like yeah, like you just said, hashtag believe all women, right? Hashtag me too. If you're gonna be for that movement, but you're just gonna like throw this all under the rug, like sweep it under the rug. That's kind of weird to me, But at least be consistent. But whatever.
and then it should be very awkward since your vice president is also a woman. So yeah, that's
Yeah,
just kind of
exactly. Number 11, an executive order putting a freezing federal student loan payments. So basically, this is going to be our first step towards free education. And one of the things that I find interesting about this is that so you just loaned somebody money, and now you're freezing federal student loan payments. Basically, they don't have to be paying their money back right now. So what does that mean? it means that they're going to make up with it through taxpayers' money, or you just gave them a loan and they're not going to pay it back. That was why I kind of brought it up. It's a stepping stone to free college. Okay. Um, Number 17, executive order to issue guidance to schools as to how to reopen. That's a state's issue. I don't know why he signed an executive order for this.
Yeah, I don't know. It does come down to states. It's their decision, right? For
Well,
their governors to make that
not to mention
decision on the
Trump.
how to do it, and
Yeah, and Trump has been pushing to reopen schools for how long now?
right.
So why is
They
it
said
okay when
it's not
Biden does it?
safe.
Yeah,
It's not
but
safe.
now it is safe, or you're going to give guidelines
6
on how to
days.
do
Oh,
it?
what changed in a week after Biden
Yeah,
became president, huh?
exactly. Okay, number
It just
21.
magically disappeared. We all knew it was going to happen, too. We call it from March, or I'd say probably May, or like, when the next election comes around, and if Joe Biden is president, then yeah, schools are going to reopen and everything's going to open back up. So, and the media is just going to give Joe Biden the credit for it.
Yeah. Number 22, an executive order guaranteeing unemployment insurance for employees who will not work because of the coronavirus. So, what does the Bible say about not working? You don't work, you don't eat. So, because someone doesn't want to get the coronavirus, they're willing to, give up feeding their family. But, the government's going to come in and step in and save them, right? So, if you don't work, you don't eat, like I just said. So why should you be needing unemployment insurance? Now, I get it if you're like at risk, right? Maybe there's something that we can do, but just should not be able to work because of coronavirus. I could just be like right now, I could go and be, oh, I don't want to get COVID, so I'm not going to work, even though 19, 20 years old, no health conditions, perfectly healthy, whatever. So anyone's gonna be able to claim this.
Well, you know how many people are going to take advantage of that, right?
That
It's
was
like,
my point.
I don't feel safe, so I'm not going to go to work today,
Yep.
and you're going to pay me,
Yeah.
and it's going
Exactly.
to be probably a good amount. I mean, yeah,
That was the
it's
point I was
wrong.
trying to make.
Yeah,
It didn't come out like
it's
that
not
though.
fair.
Okay, and the last one we're going to hit on number 27, an executive order reversing the transgender military ban. Uh, Anyone who doesn't know why there was a transgender military ban in the first place is because veterans benefits gives insurance and surgeries would be covered by basically youth taxpayers under different veterans benefits, right? So the idea was you can't have transgenders in the military, so you taxpayers don't have to fund their $100,000 sex change surgeries. Well, that has now been reversed. So anyone who is a taxpayer is now going to be paying for transgender sex change for veterans. I hope you're happy. Uh, if you're into that, if you like people being able to have sex change, then you don't care. But for someone who thinks, for one, it's immoral to do that, and for two, it's a complete waste of taxpayers' money to have people do sex change surgeries, then that is a joke. All right. Um, One of the things that we also wanted to point out that is related to uh, the executive order is that they're basically through some of the COVID relief plans, they're going to be able to fund homeless hotels. And so the title of this article is Biden COVID relief plan could force taxpayers to fund homeless hotels in San Francisco, from the Daily Wire again. I didn't hear about this until we started researching a little bit, so I thought you guys might want to know. Um, One of President Joe Biden's executive orders aimed to providing relief to victims of the novel coronavirus could put American taxpayers on the hook for multi-million dollar programs to in places like San Francisco, California, programs those cities no longer want to fund themselves. So, if anyone has ever been to San Francisco, you would know that
Or Poop City.
yeah, you would know that the homeless problem is absolutely insane there. Or you don't even have to go there; you can
Well,
just
I
hear
mean, you
about
can
it.
go all up and down California. It's San Francisco, Los Angeles, San Diego. It's everywhere. So it's awful.
Yeah. So basically, under this program, Biden is planning on paying 100% of the cost. And so Actually, Trump had something under this too, if I can find the part, but Trump was only willing to pay 75% of it. So here it is. Let's start right here. President Biden signed an executive order Thursday that said certain kinds of emergency housing for the homeless, such as the hotels that San Francisco has leased during the pandemic, will be 100% reimbursed by the federal government until September, the San Francisco Chronicle said Sunday. That's a change from the Trump administration, who said it would pay for only 75% of the cost, leaving the city on the hook for potentially millions of dollars every month. The monthly program costs range from 15 million to 18 million. So basically, Biden's going to be funding hotels for homeless people to keep them out of the pandemic so they don't get sick, right? They'll be 100% reimbursed. Trump had a similar policy with 75%. And the difference with that is that the city would have to pay the other 25%, which would mean that the city doesn't want to waste millions of dollars because 25% of 15 million is still in the millions, right? So instead of the city being more careful and being conscious of how it spends taxpayer money, now it's going to be 100% reimbursed, which means they're going to blow all kinds of money on homeless people who are drug addicts, mentally ill people who probably deserve to be in a hospital instead of a hotel room,
which
right?
is taxpayer money. So your money, you are going to pay for the homeless people. And let me just make it clear. I'm not saying we shouldn't help homeless people. Um, but it's just another example of people taking advantage of the system when they don't necessarily need the help, right?
Well, it's the wrong
And just
kind of help.
expecting, well, yeah, but they just expect the government to help them
It's not the
and pay for
government's
everything. And so it's not the government's responsibility to, you know, give you housing. It isn't, but I mean, yeah, the government should definitely help you. I'm not saying they can't, but it's just when you're going to pay for 100% of all the costs. Um, that's just
well, if it's not coming out of the state's budget,
yeah,
so or the city's budget. So, guess what? It makes me think of like if your dad gives you 20 bucks and says, "Go buy this, this, and that," right? And you go and you spend 20 bucks, even if it only costs $15, you're going to spend $20 just so that you can make sure you get the full 20 next time, right? Well, now imagine your dad gives you his credit card and says, "Go buy whatever you want." Now you're going to go crazy, right? That's the whole idea behind it, is that at least with 75%, they were accountable, and now this takes away all
yeah, you have
accountability.
a limitation to that, right?
And so, government assistances and welfare and all that is kind of a topic for another time. But the basis is, you know, the government shouldn't be funding people who don't try and help themselves, right?
Exactly.
God helps those who help themselves, as the saying goes, not God helps those who don't help themselves. Okay. I thought that was interesting. So, with that said, Jared, you wanted to talk about your cryptocurrency a little bit, so you can hit on that.
Yeah, just one of the little things that I thought was interesting. I saw like an article about is this lady, I believe her name's Janet Yellen. I believe that's what her name is. But I have like an article here, so I'm gonna just kind of read it best as I can. Um, so it's just talking about how, or the title of the article is "Will the Biden administration help or hinder cryptocurrency?" Okay, and I'll tell you why this is kind of interesting in a second once I read this. So it says the Biden administration will bring on board new regulatory leaders, from some of whom are hesitant to embrace cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. Most notable is Janet Yellen, a former U.S. Federal Reserve chair, who has been appointed to head the U.S. Treasury as its secretary. Yellen has historically been negative towards cryptocurrency. She has stated that Bitcoin is not a stable store of value and it doesn't constitute legal tender, and that she is not a fan of the cryptocurrency. It is unclear how this will affect her decisions. All that to say is that, people use cryptocurrency. There's a lot of reasons why people use it, but one of the big reasons is because it's private. And I'm not saying cryptocurrency is perfect and it doesn't have its issues because you have a lot of fraud and weird stuff going on there, but the main reason why people will use it is because of privacy purposes. And unlike where if you're, with a bank, if you're basically, let's just give an example. If you're trying to transfer $2 million to someone, right? Okay, you can't just do that from bank to bank. You have to let your bank know that, hey, transferring $2 million, and then they will be notified, and you have the middleman and everything, right?
Well, isn't
So it
federal
basically, the point of cryptocurrency is to keep out third parties from like being in your business. And so if you just sent $2 million to someone through cryptocurrency or Bitcoin or whatever, uh, there's no questions asked, right? And so I don't know a whole ton about cryptocurrency, but what I do know is that yeah, they like it. These people that use it, they like it because of the privacy that is kind of associated with it, and they don't like these banks kind of being in their business, even though it can be sketchy, like I said before. But if they get rid of cryptocurrency, you're basically taking away that person's privacy. And one of the other things that I was talking about with, I mean, I brought it up with my family. We kind of talked about it, but eventually you're gonna have like these giant banks. So you're gonna have like Chase, U.S. Bank of America, right, and Wells Fargo. You're gonna have all these different like giant banks in the United States. They're gonna be running the show, and that's kind of what I'm just kind of seeing this as a prediction. Mostly, I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but I can definitely see it happening since we're kind of moving towards a one world government as it's predicted in the Bible. I believe the way that you can do that is, you can keep control of everyone's money, right, through these giant superpowers. And if you have like these three main banks or
a
even
global
two,
currency?
a global one world currency, you have a lot of control. And with the government, you don't want a ton of control, right? Because there's a lot of stuff that a lot of people don't agree on, and I definitely don't want a ton of control from the government, right? Kind of controlling what I'm doing and what I can do. And also in the future, let's just say I'm not trying to be super extreme, but let's say it gets to the point where now you're like, well, I don't support this person, right? And they can cut off your basically your funds from your bank.
Well,
They can close your account.
couldn't cryptocurrency technically do that too?
Well, they could, but I'm just saying this from like a like from these these banks like standpoint, and kind of where the government kind of has a little bit of control. And I guess the point where I'm getting at is down the line, you can see where this is kind of going, where if you don't support this or you don't support that, you're going to be punished for it. And I'm thinking like end times type stuff. So yeah, that just kind of leads to the push for a one world global currency, and that's what I'm getting from that. If you're trying to close down and get rid of cryptocurrency, I can definitely see that heading towards that direction.
So I think you're just trying to say be cautious of um, when they try and shut down currency and that kind of point. But I would probably even argue that cryptocurrency might be the one world currency that we were warned about instead of American dollars. Because if you think about like right now, who's our biggest who's the biggest person who limits freedom of speech right now? It's not the government. It's Twitter. It's private industry. So I would say that cryptocurrency might be a way for you to switch over your currency so that government doesn't have to do it, or they make regulations that forces private businesses to do stuff, and that way the government doesn't have to get their hands dirty when they use it through cryptocurrency.
Yeah, I just want the main reason why I was kind of going towards cryptocurrency and referencing that is because it's just kind of another way of getting rid of someone's privacy. whether it's fraudulent or not. I'm just saying as like a normal person who uses.
Limiting options.
Yeah,
Yeah,
limiting options, and when you get rid of that, you're limiting someone's privacy and basically taking that away from them.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that's what
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
hitting at there. But yeah, that could very well be the case. Is that cryptocurrency could be that uh, currency that everyone uses eventually, right? The one world government and one world economy. I mean, that's definitely a possibility as well. So it's a good point there.
Yeah. So, some news that we found that we didn't even know had happened that we were going to share with you because it's likely that you didn't know has happened. Again, back to Daily Wire. Uh, Article title: Federal agents defend ICE facility in Portland, fire tear gas at demonstrators. Yes, you heard that right. The federal government under Joe Biden fired tear gas at Antifa people. Who's the fascist now? Agents at the Federal Protective Services confronted crowds of rioters in Portland, Oregon again Saturday night, firing rounds of tear gas and non lethal pepper balls at anti fascist, those in quotation marks, protesters attacking an immigration and customs enforcement facility. So, here's one of the things that kind of strikes me as odd is that Biden has already talked about um, easing immigration policies. He made that one executive order that we talked about earlier, and yet anti-fascist Antifa people are still rioting and attacking the ICE facilities. And yet, for one, that gets no attention because, Trump's out of office now. And then Biden uses the same tactics as Trump, and arguably he used this much faster than Trump would have. And yet, no media coverage, no being called a fascist. So, I encourage you guys to look into this a little bit because I was kind of surprised when I saw it because I hadn't heard anything about it. Jared, did you hear? You heard about it a little bit before?
Yeah, I had like a little bit of information and I knew somewhat about it. I just didn't know all the little details that are involved with it. But yeah, you're right. Um, I mean, if this would have happened under Trump, um, people would have been going crazy, and they would have said that they would have continued to say that he's a fascist, right? But now you don't hear that. Now that Joe Biden is president, he's not a fascist like Trump was. As they apparently are, you know, giving light to that is that Joe Biden isn't a fascist, but he's doing the same exact
Oh, well,
things as
here's an
Trump would have
interesting
done.
part. Back to the article. On Wednesday night, anti fascist demonstrators smashed windows at a Democratic Party headquarters, marched through the streets, and burned an American flag in a challenge by anti fascist and racial justice protesters to the new administration of President Joe Biden, whose promised reforms they declared won't save us, the New York Times reported. So, what the heck is happening now? They're breaking into Democratic Party headquarters. They're saying President Biden's not good enough. His reforms aren't good enough. So what do they want? Because it's not going to get a whole lot better than Joe Biden unless you just get a communist in there. So this just shows you that they're not actually for racial justice. They're not actually for immigration reform. They want revolution.
These people for disruption,
Yeah.
and they're for divisiveness. They're for um, basically ruining connections with people and basically dividing the United States
Oh, here we go.
when we need unity the most, right?
And if you don't believe us, let me read you this. In a city that has seen months of demonstrations over racial injustice, economic inequality, federal law enforcement, and corporate power, and some of the harshest law enforcement responses to such protests, protesters have vowed to continue their actions no matter who was president. The outlet continued. We are ungovernable. Governable. One sign in the crowd said. We are ungovernable. What does that tell you right there?
I mean, that means that these people are just looking for violence and they're looking for chaos. They're looking for destruction. They feed off of that. And I mean, if you're gonna compare these people, did well, obviously the news didn't say anything about it, or at least I didn't see anything. I highly doubt they did. But if they did, I guarantee you they didn't say they were domestic terrorists like they called pro-Trump supporters who basically went into the Capitol, because the news made sure to say that these Trump supporters are domestic terrorists when they stormed the Capitol on January 6th. So if you're going to compare that with these people, I don't know. You're basically destroying. I mean, yeah, you the Trump supporters or whoever stormed the Capitol, they did do damage to federal property, but now, I mean, they're still creating chaos.
Yeah.
These Antifa crowds and this Antifa movement, they're still creating chaos, still destroying things, right? So
Well,
it's a
listen to
mess.
this. Keep going to the article um, about the riots that have been going on all summer. This was a statement by Joe Biden over the summer. The deadly violence we saw overnight in Portland is unacceptable. Shooting in the streets of a great American city is unacceptable. I condemn this violence unequivocally. Biden said in a statement in August, I condemn violence of every kind by everyone, whether the left or the right, and I challenge Donald Trump to do the same. He also said that then President Trump's use of federal force in Portland was egregious. And yet he goes on and tear gasses the entire crowd. That's what we call a hypocrite, everybody. So, if you didn't know that, there was that. I encourage you guys to look into that a little more because that was a little surprising because I had no idea that that happened. Um, Another interesting thing, thanks to the Biden administration, is now COVID seems to be going away. Yay!
Yay.
Yay! No more
Joe
COVID.
Biden defeated COVID, everyone,
So, some of
in a
the,
week.
yeah, in a week, some of the countries that have started to open up again, or countries, states. California's beginning to open up again. Michigan is opening back up. New York is opening back up. Chicago, which is a city, I'm not stupid, just pointing that out because I said states earlier. Chicago is opening back up. Washington D.C. is opening back up. Baltimore is opening back up. So, yay, COVID is gone. For those of you who said COVID's not a political issue, it's a real disease that we should be worried about. No one said it's not a real disease for one, or a real virus to be correct. But if you don't think that it's a political issue, then maybe you should dig in this a little more because within the week that Biden was president, we're already seeing states, some of the strictest states opening back up. Like we live in California, and California's been a mess.
And for those who are actually like, what about the science? Right? Well, actually, cases did rise up a little bit since Biden's presidency. For a couple days, it did rise, and it was at some of the highest rates that it's ever been. Right? But no one ever talked about that.
Yeah.
And now we're opening up. So, yeah, we love you, Gavin Newsom. I hope you're recalled next time this comes around. I want you out of here because you're a dictator and an awful person. You've killed thousands of people,
Hey, it could be worse. He could
caused
have
people
killed
to go hungry.
he didn't kill as many as Cuomo though, so
That that is true. Well, at least that we know of.
that
Who
we know of.
knows? Yeah, their reporting was off all the time. So
Yeah. All right. Just thought we'd bring that up real quick. Okay. And now to some of the more juicy things, right? The Trump impeachment. We thought we'll probably have the same ideas that you guys are having. Why are we impeaching a president that is not the president? It doesn't make any sense. Am I right?
I mean, yeah,
No
you're
sense.
right. It doesn't make any sense.
So, and
But that's the
then,
world we live in now. A
and
world of no sense that doesn't where you can say anything you want and anything, and then backtrack on it and say the opposite, and then not get in trouble for it.
100% true. So, if you think that because Donald Trump is out of office, that he can't do any harm, then the Senate and the House disagree with you because they are proceeding with impeachment hearings. Yay! Okay. So here's my first question. Why would you try and remove a president from office who's not in office? Because that's what impeachment is. Impeachment is the removal of someone from a position, right? Right, Jared?
Basically, yeah.
So why are we trying to remove someone who's already been removed?
It's a political stunt, obviously, to please all these people that support Joe Biden. Like, yay, let's still impeach Trump even though he's not president, and we've already said it doesn't make any sense. But I believe the other reason is that they're trying to do it because they believe if they impeach him and they are successful, then he won't be able to run again
Yeah.
the next time, because
Well,
there's been talks that Trump is going to run again in 2024.
yeah. So I have my handy dandy Constitution of the United States pocket edition right here. Inside of it is a stamp that says from the office of the Congressman Kevin McCarthy. So,
We love you, Kevin.
yeah, sometimes,
Yeah, sometimes.
sometimes. Okay, now I gotta find it because I didn't. Article 2, Section 4. Article 2, Section 4. All right. For those who don't know, this is the section regarding impeachment of the President of the United States. Section 4 says the President, Vice President, and all civil officers of the United States shall be removed from office on impeachment for and conviction of treason, bribery, and other high crimes and misdemeanors. So they're saying that he incited violence, he incited rebellion, whatever, okay? But here's the thing. I'm going to read this part again. Um, Officers, civil officers of the United States shall be removed from office on impeachment. Removed from office. Removed is very important right there. So, according to this, and I don't want to get into any more legal issues, I'm just going to try and argue from a common sense perspective because this is way over my pay grade, right? But from a common sense perspective, this says remove. So, to me, if you're removed from office, that doesn't mean you can't run again. Am I right? Like, am I missing something here?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't say that you can't run again if you've been impeached. So
So why are we removing him? And I get it, I get it. Okay, so the idea is that you impeach him, he can't run again. But where does it say that he can't run again? Because all of it says is he's removed from office. He's been removed from office. He's gone. So technically, right now, he is removed from office. There's nothing else that the Constitution outlines that should happen to him other than he's removed from office. So
I don't
why
know,
can't he
man.
run again?
I don't know. I hope he runs again. I think it'd be very interesting, although I don't know how successful it'll be. But we'll see when 2024 rolls around.
Now,
If we're still all alive in here.
from the common sense perspective, Um, well, that was a common sense perspective. So let me say something from the legal perspective, not of my words. Um, I was listening to Verdict with Ted Cruz. It's a great podcast. You guys should check it out. And he was talking about this impeachment stuff. And he said it's neither good news or bad news for either side. He said there are strong cases on either side, right? So I don't know if there's something that I'm missing because I'm just arguing from a common sense perspective. And Ted Cruz went to Harvard law school, and I did not. And he said that either side has good arguments. So I don't know what I'm missing, but I just thought that I would point
I
that
do
out.
I do have a question though. What arguments would they say in support of impeaching Trump? I don't that he incited violence. That's the only thing they're
That's what
running off of.
that's what they're gonna go off of.
That's the only thing they're running off of. But guess what? We've said it before in the past episode. He didn't even incite violence. He didn't. He didn't say, "Let's go rush the Capitol and cause chaos."
Yeah,
Right?
the notion that
When
he incited violence is
when these
controversial.
other people, let's just what's her name?
Kamala Harris,
No, well, I wasn't thinking of Kamala Harris.
AOC, Ilhan
No,
Omar.
as much as I love to talk about AOC, this isn't the one that I was
I'm
talking
just
about.
thinking about people who incited violence.
Maxine Waters.
Ah, yeah,
Okay? At the very
I
beginning
was
of this
close.
BLM stuff, all right? Maxine Waters, she said that I mean, I don't know the direct quote. I'm just kind of paraphrasing from what I know from the quote. But basically, in summary, she said, um, you will create a crowd. If you see these people, these politicians, you will go, you will create a crowd, you will create havoc, right? And you will make a stand, right? Or whatever.
Yeah, I remember that part.
And again, I don't know the direct quote. I don't have it on me right now. I wish I did. But basically, she was encouraging violence. Okay. And you can definitely see that from the little speech that she had. But yeah, I just how are you gonna say that that wasn't violence, but then turn around and say that what Trump said, but and basically in a summary of what he said was, "Let's meet at, January 6th, be there, right? Let's create a crowd, let's make our voices known." That's basically what he said, and they're saying that, you know, incited violence. I don't know, it's a very backwards world we're living in, but, I mean, I there is Maxine Waters was just one of the examples, there was other ones. I think AOC had a quote or something in there
Well, she
where
didn't
she
even
was
show
kinda
up to the
encouraging.
inauguration because she was scared of Republicans, remember?
Yeah, she was afraid of sitting with Republicans.
She said she was
Oh my
afraid of them. That was
gosh.
the quote. Because I'm afraid of Republicans. That's what she
What
said.
a tantrum, man. I
Okay.
can't believe I don't know.
So is that all we have for impeachment?
Yeah, I think we can move on from there. Other than that,
Well, there's
it's
only one
just
more
one of the
thing.
dumbest.
There's only one more thing. A little
Yeah,
more lighthearted. Uh, Trump's creation in Florida of the office of the former president. Go for it, Jared.
bro, it's got to be one of the best things you got to see, okay? And the reason I'm saying that, and I did like a post on my Instagram, I believe it was yesterday, about it because I just thought it was too good not to post. But basically, it talked about how Trump formed the office of the former president of the United States, right? And that's just funny to me. I think it's hilarious because, um, and he actually created it, so it's officially a thing, right?
It's not related to federal government anyway, though. It's technically private, isn't it?
It is kind of private, but it's actually an official thing now.
Yeah. It's an official thing, but it has nothing to do with the government.
Yeah, when it looked like Joe Biden was going to be president, he basically created, or his campaign created, the office of the president elect, which has never been a thing in the history of the United States, and still is not a thing. It's not an official thing. It was never made an official thing.
True.
They just used it as a basically a political leverage kind of type deal there.
No way to rally emotion.
Right. Yeah. And so I just thought it was funny that Trump did that. I think it's hilarious.
Yeah, there's nothing really significant about it. Basically, you just call him, or use it to schedule any way to talk to him or him to do a speech or something, and then I guess they're going to be lobbying for legislation.
Yeah, it's for like
It's a lobbyist
public
group now.
information and kind of in that little realm or area there.
Yeah, still kind of fun thing, but you know,
It's cool.
uh, is that all we have about that part?
Yeah, I believe that's about it.
And that would conclude today's episode. We hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys learned a little bit. We know we did trying to research all this stuff. Follow us on social media. We talked about last time we got rid of our Twitter. We still have Instagram though, Life, Liberty, and Truth. Um, yeah, so no more Twitter. Not gonna be getting on Facebook anytime soon. We've been trying to get on Parlor, but Parlor's having all kind of issues with their lawsuit. And last I checked, I think they were shut down. I tried to get on, and they said something about that. They're having all kinds of problems, but we're still on Instagram, so follow us on Instagram. We hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you very much. Shout out to our sponsors, man.
Yes. See you guys later. Thank you.
All right, bye.